Hi, and welcome back to the Enneagram Edge. I'm Margot Zayer, and I'm your host today. And I'm happy you're joined us today. We are going to explore the vigilant leader, and specifically the vigilant leader under stress, and when discernment turns into doubt. So, if you're known as a leader who's very thoughtful, responsible, loyal, and highly discerning, this episode is for you. The vigilant leader has enormous value in an organization. They're often the people who notice what other people have overlooked. And they ask those questions that protect the team from blind spots, from making mistakes. They are the ones that are associated with type 6 on the Enneagram. So specifically, they're also the devil's advocate, so they can see what other people don't see, and they may ask those difficult questions. So they think through the possible risks. They think through the consequences of different decisions and the unintended outcomes that a decision might make. So they sense when something's off, when we haven't really explored something completely, when maybe a decision's ungrounded or unclear. They often make the team go the extra mile by diving in and perhaps even doing more research to make a better decision, to really look at all of the different aspects of things and to not gloss things over. So sometimes this isn't very popular or very fast or very easy because you have to go the extra mile with a vigilant leader because they're vigilant of all the possible outcomes. So they may slow things down sometimes, but what they're going to do is make sure that the decisions that are made are solid and based on all aspects and really discerning what's going on in the situation to make sure that something's not overlooked. So, at their very best, this vigilant leader is just highly discerning. They're not just too cautious, they're very perceptive. And they ask those questions that need to be asked that other types of leaders can gloss over. So they're really working to make these wise, grounded decisions that support the organization and moving forward and not making any mistakes that could cost the organization money, time, or valuable resources. But the challenge is under pressure. What happens when this discernment starts to shift? So, when it does, this wise evaluation can become second guessing, and this thoughtful questioning can turn into this mental loop where they get stuck in indecision and looping, and their inner guidance, they stop trusting and it gets drowned out by doubt. This is the stress pattern that we're working today on unpacking and really looking at. So again, the gift of discernment is that these leaders are able to really pause and assess the situation. They look at the situation from multiple angles. They notice what doesn't quite add up, what doesn't make sense. They ask themselves this really important question. What are we missing here? What haven't we considered? They think about what is the wise decision here. So this is no small gift to the organization because discernment really protects the organization against impulsive decisions that could cost money, time, and resources in the long run. It helps the team avoid these unnecessary risks and it improves strategic thinking, right? And it often creates a sense of steadiness and integrity in the room. Like people are going to trust the vigilant leader that they've really through this and haven't just jumped in because it sounded like a good idea. The vigilant leader is also often deeply committed to making decisions that they can fully stand by and that they believe in. They're not going to be reckless. They want to lead from a place of being responsible and from truly caring about the outcome and that it's the best for all involved. And this is a true strength. But like any leader, the strength under stress can turn into a challenge for the organization. And specifically for the vigilant leader, this discernment can turn into doubt. So under pressure, the same leader can start overthinking. And instead of assessing something clearly, they can start scanning endlessly. So instead of the leader feeling grounded, they start to generate inside themselves a sense of uncertainty. Instead of saying, let's think this through, they start to think, okay, what else am I missing? Is there something else? And they start pushing for more analysis, for more exploration. And sometimes this discernment goes way too much into doubt and procrastination. This inner dialogue can sound something like, what if I haven't considered everything? What if I make the wrong decision? What if someone else sees something that I don't? What if my trust in myself backfires and I make the wrong decision? So this fear starts happening. What if I move too soon on this decision and I'm going to regret it later? So this is where this discernment begins to slide into doubt. And the doubt often doesn't look dramatic from the outside. It can just look like feeling like extra careful, being highly responsible, waiting for more information to come or doing a lot more research, waiting for more input from different people in the organization. But internally, it starts to feel different. It feels like they can't really land on a decision and like they're circling. You keep circling the same decision, trying to figure out the right outcome. Like every single question you keep rehashing, is this the right question to be asking? Should I be answering or asking different questions? So the problem is that the mind begins to spin and it becomes harder and harder to trust yourself as a vigilant leader when you're in a place of stress. And because the vigilant leader really values outside counsel and asking others for support, they can become trapped in a pattern of outsourcing their authority. This is something, because I'm a vigilant leader, that I've been trapped in myself. And I've done this not because I didn't feel like I actually was capable, but because I felt, and this is what happens, that the stress made me start feeling like, well, maybe somebody else knows better than I do. And my sense of self-trust went down. And that's what happens. As a vigilant leader, you start asking for more opinions. You start revisiting decisions you've already made and thinking, was that the best decision? So I've made another decision. And importantly, you start deferring to stronger voices, people who have louder opinions than you do, and thinking, well, maybe they're right and maybe I'm wrong. And so the sense of self-doubt builds in the body and mind. And you keep looking for outside confirmation without looking within. And so it's hard to base a decision on outside authority because you start doubting them also and thinking, who should I trust? Should I trust myself? Should I trust them? And so as more and more voices and more opinions start gathering around you, you get very, very confused and your mind begins to spin. So under pressure, this spinning creates a lot of consequences for the vigilant leader. They want to do the right thing. They care about making the right decisions and they don't want to let people down. But this uncertainty inside themselves, it becomes a threat. And their brain starts to feel like it can't land on anything. The mind tries to solve this with with a sense of, I need to find the right answer, a striving for certainty. But the problem is that certainty doesn't exist. And so they get trapped in this certainty loop. The problem is that leadership and decision making rarely has certainty involved. There is always going to be some uncertainty. But the vigilant leader gets trapped in wanting to get more data, wanting to make wiser decisions, questioning, trying to be more prepared, to be more certain. But it's not possible. So at some point, you still have to decide and make a decision without knowing everything, without certainty existing. And this is where the stress pattern really intensifies for the vigilant leader. Because the vigilant leader may unconsciously believe this. If I just think about this a little bit longer and ask one more person or prepare a little bit more, then I'm finally going to know for sure the right answer. This is where I've been trapped a lot in my life as a vigilant leader. The fact of the matter is, this doesn't happen. It never comes true. I know it's sad that we think we can find all the answers to make this decision, but we can't. All this actually means is that it delays the decision and you get into the leadership cost. So when this discernment turns into doubt, there are real costs for the organization. And one of this costs is decision fatigue. The leader spends so much time and energy trying to arrive at certainty that even a simple decision can feel heavy, can feel burdensome, can keep them up at night, can drain their energy. Another cost is slowing down the momentum of the organization. The team may be waiting for some clarity, waiting for reassurance, waiting for a confirmation of how to move forward, but yet here you are as a vigilant leader trying to gather more information, and so you're putting off making an important decision for your team. Another important thing that can happen is your sense of being an executive and really being in charge. This can dwindle. The leader really starts second guessing themselves, and their sense of confidence in the room can dwindle and dilute itself. And so people might start second guessing them as a leader because they're second guessing themselves. So there's a really strong hidden cost here that comes when the vigilant leader loses contact with their own sense of inner knowing and starts outsourcing their authority and their decision making to other people. They may begin to trust everyone else's decisions before they trust their own. They may dismiss their own instincts, their own inner knowing, and they may forget that they actually have a strong track record of being very perceptive, because that is the flip side of the vigilant leader, is they're very perceptive and they can make very good decisions. But when they're stressed out, they stop believing in themselves and start doubting themselves. So this is where the stress can be particularly painful for this type 6 energy, this vigilant leader. So this very, very deep sense of being able to know and sense what really matters dwindles, and they doubt their own ability to know the truth. Because knowing the truth and being in alignment is so important to them that they get stressed out and start doubting themselves. They stop trusting themselves. They stop trusting that they know. And this is very painful for the vigilant leader. So the opportunity for growth for the vigilant leader is not to stop discerning. It's not about becoming impulsive. It's not to stop asking the right questions or even asking other people for input or pretending that risk doesn't exist in the world, because risk does exist for sure, right? As a leader, the real opportunity is to let this discernment be and stay a strength. without allowing it to collapse into this place of self-doubt. It is leaning into the difference between wise evaluation and fear-based mental spinning, right? Or getting counsel from others and outsourcing authority. Or preparing responsibly, knowing enough information and postponing action because you're seeking too much information. So real growth for this leader, this vigilant leader, looks like this. I can think carefully without endlessly circling in my brain, right? I can listen to others' advice and their opinions without abandoning myself in my own opinions and what I believe matters. I can make a strong decision without total certainty, with there being still some doubt in there. And I can trust that whatever decision I make, I can adjust and I can handle the outcome. That's the important one, is trusting that whatever decision I make is a good enough decision. This is a really powerful shift for a vigilant leader. Because self-trust is not built on being always right, right? It's not built on making the right decision. It's built on learning that you can trust yourself to respond to a situation, to recover well, to change course if needed, that you know how to respond to whatever decision you make. So I want to share a personal note about my own experiences as a vigilant leader before I go into the 2 reset levers. As a vigilant leader, I know this pattern really well, and it's been really a challenge for me, honestly. Because earlier in my life and business, I would get caught up in second guessing and overchecking and asking other people's opinions way too much. As an entrepreneur, this is incredibly draining, and it would really drain my ability to move forward in my business. It would hold me back. I would ask my husband, I would ask coaches, I would ask friends what I should do, and then I had trouble making big decisions. I had trouble even making small decisions, honestly. I've spent the last 25 years working on this particular thing, learning how to trust myself, learning to feel more empowered by my decisions and my choices, and to actually learn that there isn't really a right decision that can be made. That's okay if I make the wrong one. To trust that, you know what? I don't have to make the right decision. So I want to share that what helped me get out of this looping that was driving me absolutely crazy, where I was putting off important decisions and I was missing out on opportunities because of that. Yes, I wasn't sending proposals to people quick enough. I wasn't going to certain events because I was like, well, I'm not prepared for them, trying to be overly prepared. I wasn't jumping into things quick enough, and so the opportunity would pass. A lot of things passed me by and held me back from business success because I was being too discerning, because I was asking myself too many questions and I was outsourcing my authority. So here are 2 reset levers that have really helped me along the years that I want to really, share with you so you can also see how they can support you. Because I don't want you to be stuck in self-doubt. You can shift out of this. I want you to be able to continue being discerning and decisive and be able to trust yourself and your ability to make decisions and know that whatever decision you make is a good enough decision. So here's the first reset lever that really helped me. And this is about defining what enough clarity or enough information really looks like. So here's the big thing that a lot of vigilant leaders get stuck in, is trying to get more and more information to make the right decision. There's always one more data point, one more perspective that somebody can give you, one more possibility to consider. And the more you get, the more it's actually draining, right? So instead of waiting until you feel completely certain, define what enough clarity actually means to you. What do you actually need in place to make the decision? What is enough information here? What is truly essential here? What are the three most relevant inputs? That's a really great question to ask yourself. Just to, get down to three. You don't need a lot. What are the three most important things I need to consider here? And who genuinely needs to weigh in? A lot of vigilant leaders ask too many people to weigh in on a decision. Who needs to weigh in on this decision and get really clear with that? And get clarity on the timing. By when does this decision need to be made? And what would be good enough here? What would be good enough clarity and not perfect clarity? This can help you speed up your decision making. This can help you create what I call a decision boundary. And what matters is having a boundary about when you're making a decision instead of this endless searching, which a vigilant leader can get stuck in. So that you can make decisions that are grounded, but perhaps not perfect. And they're not going to be perfectly certain or not perfect certainty. Because the fact of the matter is that perfection doesn't exist in decision making. So reset lover number 2 that really supported me, and this is really near and dear to my heart, is practicing really returning to your own sense of inner knowing. Because when you outsource your authority to other people, you become ungrounded, and that's actually where a lot of the spinning comes. So the external voices can get too loud, and it's about going internally and getting clear again about your own sense of inner knowing. So some powerful reset questions to ask yourself is, what do I actually think? What's my true sense? What feels true to me before I ask 5 other people? And just go with the first thing that comes to your mind. And if I trusted my judgment, what would I choose? Like, what's the thing you would choose here? I also like to look at my gut instinct and ask my kind of gut, like, how do I actually feel in my body about this? Because the mind is a spinning thing and it can go in lots of different directions. But the gut, you can trust a lot more. So, what I often do is just kind of ask myself, how do I actually feel in my body about this? Is there a sense of expansion, a sense of relaxation, a sense of, you know what, this feels good in my body? It's important to ask oneself, what is feeling good like in your body? But normally it's expansive. It feels a little lighter. It feels a little like, okay, this feels good. Um, so I kind of get a sense of how my gut also feels about it to take it out of my mind, which can be spinning. So this doesn't mean that you're going to ignore other people's counsel or what they feel or want, but it means that you're going to first check in with yourself and get a little more clarity on what you believe first without handing it over to other people and their authority. And what I found is for me, the first thing that comes to me, my first instinct, is often the one that I should be listening to because it's the one it's the clarity that comes first, like, oh yeah, that's what I want to do. And then the second guessing comes second. So that might be also helpful for you to consider. Remember that decision making is easier if it comes from your own center and it's something you can truly believe in because it's grounded in what you believe. And when it's grounded in what other people believe, of course, there's even more self-doubt in it. So for the vigilant leader, strength is not about having zero fear. Strength is not about making a perfect decision or feeling like you know everything there is to know about the decision. Strength is not about eliminating uncertainty, and that's the big thing. Vigilant leaders would like everything to be certain and clear and 100%, and that's just simply not going to happen. Strength is not even about everyone else agreeing with your move and agreeing with you, because that's something else that I fall in the trap of, wishing everybody would agree with me. It's about staying connected to your own judgment while you're remaining open to other people's input. That's what it is. It's about being able to discern wisely and still decide. It's about being able to recognize fear without letting fear become the final authority. That's right. Because when vigilant leaders do this kind of work, they become extraordinary leaders. They're able to fully step into the power and let their inner guidance guide them. And they bring very high levels of insight. They bring the right level of caution. They bring strong levels of loyalty. They bring strong levels of strategic awareness and thoughtfulness for the outcome. But what's important is that their decisions be grounded in self-trust and that their leadership be grounded in a place of truly believing and knowing that this is the best decision for now, and it's okay if they need to change paths. This is an incredibly powerful place to be. So if you've been stuck in overthinking or second guessing yourself or looking outside of yourself for answers, this is the reminder that your discernment is good, your wisdom is real, and you don't need to feel absolutely certain to make a strong decision. You just need enough clarity. You just need a grounded process of decision making and the willingness to trust yourself more. Because under stress, discernment may turn into doubt. But with awareness and practice, doubt does not have to run the show. So thanks so much for joining me today on this episode of the Enneagram Edge. And if you want to learn a little bit about how to overcome burnout or stress yourself, you can download my burnout code. The link is in the show notes. And if this episode resonated with you, please share it with another leader who may need it. And please be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes on how each of these leadership styles can operate under pressure and how you can lead more from strengths without getting trapped by your strengths. So see you next time on the Enneagram Edge. Thanks for tuning in today.